Ronnie Garrigus. In 14th place, after finishing 92 laps in the number 16 car from Michigan, Robbie Loving. And then in 13th place, after finishing 99 laps in car number 87, Danny Turner. 12th place after finishing 100 laps in car number 78, Joe Jackson. In 11th place after finishing 100 laps, number 86, Bill Clark. The top 10 after the red flag came out. In 10th place after 101 laps completed in number 8, Charles Coles. 9th place with 101 laps in number 6, Rich Fenwick. In 8th place with 101 laps in number 116, Rance Harmon, the farmer champion. In 7th place with 102 laps in number 54, Bob Stute. And then your 6 drivers on the lead lap. All 6 of these drivers had finished 106 laps at the time. Extended into a leap year of sorts. One additional day in the Indianapolis Speedrome as we go into a second day of racing. And that work and effort extended into an additional day as well, as all the drivers and the crew members did that additional work to get these cars ready for the second start of this race. 106 laps had been completed by the leaders at the time of the red flag. 43 minutes and 25 seconds of racing had been completed at the time of the red flag. Cars and drivers are now on the track ready for the second start of this race. They slowly roll southbound through the intersection. Hesitating for a moment, Leroy Young, number 98, he was late. As we come back to the starting clock, as we go back to green for the second resumption of the 3-hour figure-eight endurance contest in the Indianapolis Speedrome. Immediately, the battle is re-engaged as Jack Dawsey Jr. looks at a crowded crossover and is immediately challenged for the lead by Leonard Ashton with number 9. Remember that Dawsey's car has been repaired on the rack you were in. 2, 3, and 4, they look at a crowded crossover and just barely get through behind the number 12 of Kenny Rackley. Dawsey has extended his lead to 1 full turn. Ashton in second place looks at the crossovers. Dawsey has to hold up and runs into his teammate, Jim Fox. I don't believe it. Jack Dawsey Jr. and Jim Fox collide as that takes Dawsey out of the lead, elevating Leonard Ashton in first place for number 9. Second place is the number 17 of George Sutton. Third place is the number 3 of Dwayne Lee. Fourth place driver is the number 71 of Bruce Tunney. In fifth place, we have the number 7 of Mike St. John. And your sixth place car would be some distance back to number 4, Jack Dawsey Jr. 6 cars on the lead lap. crossover, marker tire and all. Boza Hoosiers, number 11. And Basham at the intersection catches the number 3 of Lee, throwing down for another car. And that puts Basham back in lead. But Lee was out against the turns number 3 and 4. Now to the inside, and Lee takes the lead for Basham. Lee takes twice on that lap number 115. And number 71 of Sonny runs to that group in third place. Number 17 of Sutton has got caught in some traffic and has dropped back in fourth place on a quarter lap behind the leaders. In fifth place, you have Greg St. John, and about a half lap back in sixth place, you have the number 4 of Dawson. We've been trying to take a look at those drivers that are running on lap number 101 at 8, 9, and 10. Number 116 of Rance Harmon ended up with your lead back. Now cars in trouble at the north end of the racetrack. Number 21 of Darren Sizemore in collision with the number 34 of Berger and the number 12 of Brackley, and also in there in the number 16 of Walling. All of those cars have stuck together. We're staying under green for the time being to see those cars can disengage. But I think it's obvious from the damage to the number 21 of Darren Sizemore to the point that that car is not going to be in the corner. We're going to have to go out and get it. We continue to run for green. Now we go to yellow. Now we go to yellow as the leaders come down and complete their 118th lap. Two cars appear to be substantially disabled at the north end of the racetrack. One of them is the number 12, and there's something being pushed away that we just noticed. The entire it was obviously torn off because the only thing left on the left rear of Darren Sizemore's car is the hub. The brake assembly, everything else is gone, and Sizemore's looking through, although I think they're going to have to wait his way back in 31st. So Dulcie does lose lap as the rest of the field comes back to green. That's when we brought onto the racetrack in the number 5. Now Dawson's crew is backing that car up. They're desperately trying to get him on the racetrack, but I think Dawson will lose 2 laps. He comes to the gate. He'll score through the gate. Oh, he can. The rest of the field goes down. Dawson just lost 2 laps on the flat tire. The rest of the field goes down to finish 120th lap. And Dawson is going to try to get his 2 laps back right now. Lately has the advantage to the number 3. Leonard Basham attacks on one side of the 9 to the outside. Number 71 Bruce Tunney to the inside. And there's George Sutton, number 17, making a diamond formation going for first spot as Brown slides his car to the infield. At the intersection, watch out, Jack Dan! He almost taken out by the leaders. Leonard Basham goes to the lead. And there's Rance Harmon at the 116, trying to get one of his 5 laps back. And there's Tunney coming back to the inside of the 71 and snatching the lead away from Basham to 3 and 4. Gets back to 4th place. He's trying to make an inside loop around the lap number 18. Isaac Wolfing is almost hit by Basham at the intersection. And Basham is taken high by the rest of the traffic on his inside. Now in second place, George Sutton at number 17. And now there's trouble from Fred Bear, who apparently has broken the tie rod and crashed with somebody else. And now his machine is disabled on the northbound run. Pushes at Bear's machine is some distance off the racing line. So what does it crash with Jeff Watson in the wall over in turn number 3? He apparently ran over somebody, got bashed in the side, and the car leapt into the air. And now Dwayne Lee crashes into the number 66 of Carpenter. Hitting Carpenter and sending him spinning. Everybody else manages to keep on going. Jim Parks' disabled car now comes into the pit area, and the goal out to service him. Fred Bears, number 16, stays on the track and will continue to run under green. The leader is number 71, Bruce Tunney. As we come out of turns number 3 and 4, Bear realizes he's going to have to move on his own. He'll try to lift that machine back into the pit area. At least he can make a full right turn in the last to get it off the track. The leader is Bruce Tunney at number 71 as he heads northbound in the middle of the 53rd minute of this race. Leonard Basham has to hit the brakes to keep from a confrontation with Tom Dawson at number 76 as his brother Jack. Scott Martin at number 76. At the intersection, watch out for the cars of Close and the deal. They almost get to the number 17 to Sutton the crossover. Sutton is your second place car. The leader, cars in the crossover. Scott Martin over the right. I'll see some cars flattening down. See some cars right front tire. And there's George Sutton trying to get in the pits. I don't know what happened to Sutton's car. They changed the order in that one. Sutton may have just simply overcooked it and missed the turn. Sutton is trying to get his car to the pits. Another one of the lead lap cars goes off along with the cars of Dandy and Cecil Carr. The leader now with a big advantage by Speedrome standards in this contest as we come down to finish the 128th lap, and the 54th minute of this contest is in number 71 Bruce Tunney. He has a lead of about a half straightaway over number 9 of Leonard Basham. Third place is now number 7 Mike St. John. Clay Lee is in 4th place is number 7. Two drivers that had their lead lap are no longer there. Number 17 16 of Harmon back 5 laps down. Has moved back around it. Also trying to get a lap back is the number 4 of Dawson. And we see that barely stalled at the intersection is the number 5 of Bill Tunney Jr. Tunney had his crash yesterday. Watch out, there's Bill Clark. There's Monster and several other cars as they're watching Bill Tunney Jr. number 5. Who appears to be stalled, and he is very close to the racing line, but will continue to run in the meantime. Again, the number 9 of Leonard Basham has the advantage. The second position belongs to the number 71 of Bruce Tunney. In third place, third distance back is the number 7 Mike St. John. Fourth place is the number 3 of Dwayne Lee. Again, the driver watches the number 4 Jack Dawson Jr. Dawson is 2 laps down after his trouble. Now Dawson runs to the back of Charles Coles and forces the number 86 of Bill Clark offline. And Dwayne Lee collides with the 18 of Jeff Heisel, sending Heisel's car flying into the air. From the spot, he somehow keeps on going.
It was my very first time.
He is one straight for a collision out between the 44 round and number 20 of Joe Lowe. And we see that Ben Bennett is number 14 machine coming out of turn. Again, here's the circumstance. Fifth place car, the number 4 of Jack Dawson Jr., running 2 laps down, is desperately trying to close up on the number 9 of Leonard Basham to get one of his laps back. Now with 3 stalled cars on the racetrack, we've decided to go to yellow. We go to yellow as we conclude the 57th minute of this race, of the first hour of this race, toward the 140th lap of the leader. We'll push the number 5 of Bill Tunney Jr. very close, and we'll try to get his lap back. And look at Dawson. Dawson is passing Basham, but he has to restart behind him. Dawson is trying to get a lap back, but he should not get it. Here's the circumstance. You saw Dawson wild around the number 9 of Leonard Basham, but at the time that the yellow came out, Dawson ran around Basham to get one of his... And we've completed 1 hour, or 1/3 of the way through this race. Leonard Basham has the lead. Second place is 71-30. And now there's trouble with Dawson once again. Number 4 is stopped. Here comes the field. Bearing down at Dawson in full speed. Oh, they avoid him. They go to the right. They go to the left. And Dawson is hit by the right of Coles. Coles is almost right. And there's the number 40 of Jim Marks coming up to give a bump start to Dawson. Coles with the flat tire is coming off the track along with the number 77 of Rich. I'm not sure what happened to Dawson's number 4. He had made a couple of stops. Remember, they had changed the rear end on that car. But Dawson does get back restarted. But in the middle of that melee, I'm not sure if he lost a lap or not. I think he's still running 2 laps down, but the car's been damaged. But he will do so, and Rackley will finish the second minute of the second hour of this race. On this restart, the number 9 Basham is right in front of the number 71 of Plenty, the second place car. Deep in the pack, but gradually getting closer to the watch-out, the number 7 of St. John in third. Wayne Lee is still in fourth place for number 3. There's Rossi, the number 4, still 2 laps down, having caused that big confrontation over turn number 3 when the car stalled. I'm not sure if he is 2 or 3 laps down. I'll double check on Rossi's circumstance, but he is still as aggressive as ever. The whole center trying to get his laps back. And remind you that there is a long distance to go in this contest. There's Basham and Tunney doing battle out of turn number 4, cutting through the crossover, and still running with it is the number 1 of Harmon, trying to get one of his laps back. And by the time he has been able to move up and along and through the leaders, but he has been overlapped and not that long later. There's a confrontation with the number 16 Bear and the number 1 of Brittany, and now hooked together rather solidly are Carpenter's number 66 and number 87 of Turner. The leaders are bearing down on those cars. Everybody so far has seen the machines that are in trouble hooked together in turn number 1 and moving to their outside and avoiding. Again, the 87 of Turner has hooked together with the number 66 of Carpenter, and then we're watching to see if the yellow will be displayed. It will just as we come to the line. And Bruce Tunney had taken the lead. Now the number 116 of Harmon. I guess the question is, did Harmon get his lap back? Obviously, Harmon did get one of his 5 laps back with that charge past the car. One of the Indy Towing Service Wreckers has now been dispatched. These Indy Towing Service Wreckers have been working all season here at the Indianapolis Speedrome on our stock car racing nights, and they've really gotten a good tire on the left front and all. He'll have to move to the pits for repairs. Danny Turner, you can never tell, he may be able to drive into the pits and make some fast changes on his own and come back onto the racetrack. Most of this contest will be run under the sunshine and the warm weather here at the Indianapolis Speedrome as we get set for the second hour of this race to near the halfway mark. Another start of the race. The drag race between Basham and 9 and number 71 Sunny, led by Basham with the right-hand turn number 1 as we come to the 153rd lap of this race. They head through an empty crossover. Third place, Mike St. John, number 7, is running about one turn, 2 turns behind them. I think Wayne still number 3, trying to go to the inside of number 27. Lynch almost across on the crash with number 16 there and several others. There's Tunney trying to get Basham high to number 1. Basham goes high, Tunney down to the inside of number 71, goes to the lead as there's slides this car to the infield another couple of times. Basham having his trouble getting around Robbie Loving as they go through 3 and 4 minutes, 154th lap of the race. Now Basham has made that pass and lap car. Mike St. John, I believe, has dropped out of third spot. There's the number 3, Dwayne Lee, who is really on the charge at the intersection. Bruce Tunney has been placed to keep him getting into Ben Benedict, and that allows Basham to come back to the inside and go to first spot. Out of number 4, Tunney looks for power through the intersection, but Basham is already there. At the crossover, Jim Fox looks for racing room, cannot find it. Look out, George Sepple, look out, Johnny Garris. There's Jim Fox sitting there, and Fox loses run the lap of the leaders as he had to wait for the other traffic to cross him. Again, we're still showing 4 cars in the lead lap. Number 71 of Tunney, number 7 St. John, number 3 of Lee, and number 9 of Basham. And Dwayne Lee is the driver that's trying to make a move up through the field. Again, heavy intersection traffic holds up to the leaders as he heads southbound. The leaders are on the northbound part of the racetrack, on the wrong section of the track, you can say, as they come down to finish lap number 157. It is a 2-car fight for the moment between Basham and Lee. Rather, Basham and Tunney. It is Lee that we're trying to pay attention to because he's cut the gap between him and the top 2 guys. There's a collision on number 4 between Benedict and 14 and number 40 of Fox. And Fox is hit in the back. And then they cross over crash with Bruce Tunney and number 78 of Joe Jackson. 2 separate crashes on 2 different parts of the racetrack. Joe Jackson collided with Bruce Tunney at the crossover, and at the same time there was a collision between the number, or just ahead of that, there was a collision between the number 40 of Jim Fox and the number 14 of Ben Benedict, and the number 27 of Eddie Deal was forced into the back of that car. Jim Fox pulls off the racetrack, the rest of the wrecked cars are stuck. Another one of the contenders in this race is eliminated at the intersection. So we'll watch over Bruce Tunney's condition as the happens, chain reaction style. We see the heavy damage to that machine, and I'm sure what he sees is not going to make him very happy. But he peers down and looks at the car as if he is not so much angry with the damage as he is analyzing it and trying to figure out how it could be repaired. Make a stop because it stopped right in the middle of the approach to the exit from the pits. All of that happened as we came to the 11th minute of the second hour of this 3-hour race. Bruce Tunney had been in and out of the lead several times in a scintillating, constant battle through traffic with Leonard Basham, but now Tunney's time in the lead is done, although he was looking at that car, not necessarily with the look of somebody that's thrown number 78. Now, as soon as that's done, we'll get him out of the way, we'll get Tunney's number 71 off the track, then we will need one of the wreckers to return to the track to pick up Ben Benedict's number 14, and at that point we can go back to green flag racing. Next week, we'll have the final team championship figure 8 for the top 5 Bill. Now we're going to come back to green just that fast. They go to the restart. And Rossi gets another one of his laps back in the number 4. Let's have to double check on the scoring to find out how many laps Rossi has gotten back so far. My reckoning is that Rossi is roughly 1 lap down at this point, has come out. We have put out a caution, and I believe the caution this time is for Scott Martin. Number 76 car appears to be stalled, facing southbound at the crossover, and that caution is what Dawsey wanted. Dawsey will be able to come all the way around and attack from the back of the pack to try to get another one of them to the track. He is the 21st alternate. We have 3 parts of the racetrack to watch. We lead with the 9-3 cars running for first and second spot. Crossover crash narrowly between the cars of Carpenter, who comes back onto the track, and the number 16 of Bear. Those guys almost got each other at the intersection, but they strove to the last second and avoided a devastating wreck. Carpenter now has the lead. Now the field to go past him at the intersection. As the leaders come out of turn number 4, and they head past the number 4 Dawsey, who's headed northbound. They head southbound. Now we go to platform number 172. There's Bill Whitney Jr. in number 5. He has been on the wrong track a couple times today. Herbert Sonny in the number 9 had been 18th qualifier, but he had a confrontation and crash, and that dropped him some distance back again. Like so many others, he is trying to get laps back. So is Dawsey in the number 4. He had to hesitate for that group of 3 climbers. They were almost perfectly in sync. At the intersection, Basham has the beginning of the throws. This one right. Basham now leaves himself on a moment when he leaves inside attack. The drivers wheel the wheels. They get to the intersection again, watching for pole. Basham that time led that lap score at 173 and marked it down at the end of the 23rd minute of the second hour of this race. 2 hours is an official race. We don't have to worry about weather today because it's going to be nice and dry, but it's also going to be nice and hot. Clayton has the advantage of Basham coming out of the intersection. Led that one by almost 2 car lengths. 175th lap now. At the intersection, they have to hold up for the cars of Tony and of Charles Cole on the dash to keep on going. They held up to those guys because they were lateral traffic. Now on number 4, there's Lance Harmon being split on both sides by the leader. And that allows White to go to a wide line and actually pick up the rest of the fast and flashing car back in the first spot. Headed northbound again. Harmon has to wait for the rest of the guys. He pulls the car and gets in front of Dawsey. Dawsey is making ground. He's about 1.5 lap back now as they come out of number 4. And there's Basham getting past Lee. He had to hesitate for the cross of the traffic that time. Dawsey is driving very aggressively. He is making some extremely wide lines, trying to keep up his pace. Traffic. Dawsey going for the 50 car, sending the number 50 car high into the air out of turn number 4. Dawsey was working aggressively, and it better again as he collided with number 50 of Mike Champagne. Champagne's car flew 6 feet in the air and came crashing down the whole road. Dawsey hesitates, but he continues on. Champagne's car is stuck in the intersection. The car is coming at it from all angles as Champagne tries to whip the batter number 50 out of the way, and now just barely does get that car away as the leaders come to the crossover. In heavy traffic, Lately goes to the outside of the car of Jack Danny, holding on to a 2-lane advantage over Leonard Basham. Basham bravely going to the crossover, almost getting the Waller and Burner as they go to numbers 3 and 4. Will finish the 179th lap, this time wide, as it's going to be a quick crossover, find the rest of the intersection, coming to the line very close as Basham has the lead, as they see the number 30 of Guy Stewart bouncing his car off the first turn long. Leaders go on pulling on by. At the intersection this time, Basham looks out for the number 6 of Fenwick and the number 20 of Waller. They somehow keep on going. All over the place are the leaders as they come down to finish 180 laps and work the 26th minute of the second hour of this race. Lately attacks Basham to the inside of the second turn of the 181st lap of this contest. And Mike St. John is gradually getting closer. We also noticed that Jack Dawsey Jr.'s number 4 has disappeared from the track. Obviously, he tried to continue after that collision, but now the car is in the pit area undergoing repairs once again. And that may have ended Dawsey's chance to win this race, but still, there is so much time left that Dawsey still could have a chance. We also noticed the first timing machine is still on Jack, and with every passing lap, with every passing moment, his chance to win the race goes away. Now Mike St. John can become the factor once again. Now we're watching Kurt Kumsky's number 101. That machine did a jump. Bear looks for a chance to restart it. He's lost all the lap. There's Freddie in the time coming back. At the intersection, Basham looks for the advantage to the inside as they finish 187 laps. 186 laps, I stand corrected. But again, Basham can't do it. There's the 50 car spinning. Mike St. John goes to the wall, being pushed there by one of the red car, and Jack Dandy runs over another machine. And scot-free, and others that got into trouble. St. John was passed as thought. Mike St. John was stuffed into that as the leaders went through, and from my reckoning, he was still stopped there when the leaders went through, and I think he may have gone a lap down. We'll have to double check that. The incredible part of number 212. Yellow comes out in the middle of the 1 hour and 40 minute mark in this race. Sector 94, Mike Stiles joining the contest. So our scores indicate that St. John is running on the lead lap at this time. Again, a lot of the scoring is going to require analysis, so apparently St. John did not lose a lap in that circumstance they had. Obviously, Grant's given out the leaders, so we're running with the leaders, and as they come to the lead, the first line of the gets around the start-finish line. It's Tommy Williams, number 16, is right behind him, a 3-5 under the lead pack. 9 Basham, 3 lead for number 7 of St. John. It's not leading the car back in the first spot. Six alternate is now on the track. Lee has the advantage. Basham goes to the outside. Coming up on Burner, holding scores. They go to the front turn. 15th lap. It is side by side for first place with Lee, holding the right to so on Basham. Extending the advantage as now Mike St. John moves around Basham. Basham is making a pit stop. The former winner of this race has decided to make a pit stop, but Basham is gone from the lead group. Now it's Mike St. John charging for the lead, and just like that, Mike St. John has come to first place. Mike St. John is the new leader of the 301 configurated darts contest in the Indianapolis Speedrome. Perhaps St. John decided that the conservative pace was not his. It's been another crash involving Charles Coles, this time with the number 20 of Joe Rowe of the South London racetrack. Coles' car has been hurt. The driver himself is okay, but it's damage to the right front suspension of Rowe's car. There's the car's turn at the intersection. Right, Mike St. John caught in that traffic. And going back to the first spot, and St. John almost hit. He may have been tapped by the number 16 as it's the ring 61 going up to the 16 and Tommy Hunt. Lee has the advantage. St. John in second spot with Lindsay. The body work looks like damage from the rear corner of Mike St. John's car. To see the might be rubbing up against the tire. Overstop will continue to run at speed with the intersection where there'll be a lot of cars there. Mike St. John trying to take it back to the intersection traffic on the inside of the lane. Stop number 2 with 18 as we're now on the 44th minute of the second hour of this race. Lee and St. John, heavy crossover traffic. Gets through there first. But as St. John gets through there first and holds on to the lead. Running with him again is Milton Jr. from the line. That car, one that was put together over last week on race 1 was destroyed in the 1 hour configurated darts contest. As they head northbound on 3-4, we're working the 2:20 for this contest. Still cars all over the place, running 2 and 3 abreast. Hunter Basham is back on the racetrack, and there's a race between the cars of Mike Hughes and the number 2X car of Jerry Whitten sending it was spinning. Hughes will repeat the sound move, and everybody else will keep on going. St. John leads, as we see it. The second place car is Wayne Lee, number 3, and in third spot. We'd have to go back, I believe, to the number 9 of Basham to be in third place, but he's probably a couple of laps down. Again, Lee and St. John have to be careful. The intersection is now on the racetrack. He is the 29th alternate, Mike Poyer with number 31. 2 cars have crashed hard in the south end of the racetrack. One of them is the number 34 Florida driver. The other one is Cecil car number 9. That will bring out yet another caution. And Mike St. John and Dre Lee have to tiptoe through the intersection and almost get into the car of Jerry Brown. The heater, other thing, we should have mentioned that the Lee Padgett, number 5X, is another one of the alternates has come on the racetrack. Promising Paulo Brown's number 44, broken tire. We're handling an ambulance. This time we're checking up with Larry Berger, and the number corrector is staging up to Joe Lowe's number 20. His collision with the number 8 of Charles Coles damaged Coles' bodywork and appears to have sent Coles. No, Coles has not come to the pits. He's going to stay on the racetrack, even though most of the bodywork on the rear of that car has been shooed away. He has both rear corners pretty much mashed up with, on one side, the left rear, the entire bumper bar section that was welded there just a couple of weeks ago has been torn back real bad. So we've got things happening all over the track. Over in the inside of the turn 4 area, one of the track workers is trying to make fast work of a marker tire repair, and I hope that the drivers will notice that that guy is out there. That's one of the reasons why we're going to hold down this field to an extremely slow run. Gaddis will make a stop at the same time. We're checking. That is your roundup after 200 laps. Our Our indications are that the 9th place car would have been Sutton in 17, the 10th place car 86 Clark, 11th place the number 9 of Carr, 12th place the number 69 of Algren. We'll make that 12th place the number 6 of Fenwick, 13th place the number 69 of Algren. And prove to the satisfaction of the race officials that your car will run again. Through all of this madness, you can see the fittings and the roll cage for that car. We're just about set to go back to green. Restart and the pitch battle between first and second place was still completely. That's the advantage of Mike St. John going into the first lap of the 226 laps. We're now in the first minute of the second hour of this race. Lead rolls Mike St. John by about 4 lanes in turns number 3 and 4. Field now starts to spread out. They launch winner. Crash at number 3. The number 14 car, Ben Benedict, swapped in suddenly. And Ben Benedict may have been trying to make a pit stop, and the car simply swapped ends on him. He tried to hit the brakes and instead hit the wall. Ben Benedict did an odd crash headed northbound as the right side of the car ended up smashing flat up against the concrete. The rest of the cars continue to run under green. St. John's trailing the number 3 and 3 lead. Matching stride for stride, however. Trying to keep up with them in an attempt to get a lap or so back is Harmon in the number 116. We're now watching the number 30 of Guy Strode who gets a small wall on the intersection. The yellow has come out again. This time the yellow is for Ben Benedict who got into the wall in an odd circumstance. And now somebody has lost a catch can, and because it means that up to Benedict's. Grindy comes back onto the track minus most of his front bodywork. The hood's still there, but the nose that adorned this car is still running. When you talk about bashed up bodywork, the 03 car of Scott Farr has to have the record. His car was mounted much earlier in the contest on this Sunday run, and all that bodywork was pushed up. I don't think Farr's made a stop. I really am not sure that that guy has actually brought that car to the pit area. The rear bodywork is bashed and bent and beaten in several different angles. And as we see Ken Algren change his mind and come back and make another pit stop, it's interesting that Farr continues to run despite having the bodywork all bashed up. I'm sure that the guy will show the road the flat distance is. When he is up there, doesn't think something's happening. He's running very slowly. He's not moving along so far. As we move the rest of the field back to green, and we see the people on 35 heading that lead of the track. And the just rise to the track. The sun is actually moving itself. They're continuing to back. All of their free traffic. Leader is number 3. Second place is the number 7, Mike St. John. By my reckoning, a couple of laps down in third place left the number 9, the runner back. And of course, Bob Stewart is in fourth place. Again, we're not sure the exact lap interval between those drivers is. At the intersection, there's number 44, Brown, slowing down. Almost catching the leader. That allows Harmon to up to and parallel with number 3 and 3 lead. Again, Harmon is trying to get a lap or so back as they come out of number 4. Lee outpowers Harmon on the northbound run. Harmon tries to stay with him in turns number 3 and 4. Lee gets the inside advantage out of number 4 and comes down to finish this lap again in first place as they watch out for number 12. Now Mike Stiles could be in trouble with number 94. Looks like that car has stalled. No, he simply gets off the slow wheel. Oh, he goes in front of the leaders of the crossover. Stiles is barely close to the crossover again to keep on going. For all of this, Harmon and Lee and St. John continue their try dance. Oh, Mike slipped there, crashed the intersection. A.J. Weiser spun through the crossover and was nailed hard by the number 27 of Deal. That brings out a red. Weiser loops through the intersection and for a moment was facing in the wrong direction and was mounted, crashed hard by the number 27 of Deal. The first motion we saw inside the cars was from Heiser. He gave kind of a derisive sign of applause for Deal as he came through the intersection. The cars came to rest. Obviously, Heiser's okay. He is out of his car and walking around after that massive, dramatic crash that saw those cars obscenely mounting each other. Deal now recovering from his his end of the impact is moving around in his machine and will gradually get out as well. Heiser picks up a piece of bodywork, has a piece of his mind with Deal, and this is the classic scene with Jeff Heiser. All he's going to do is drag as much of the car back as he wants. This is a classic photograph, ladies and gentlemen. Jeff Heiser walking away, losing the battle at the Indianapolis Speedrome, and we'll see him later on. That was a classic image of American auto racing. As Heiser, again, is acting like, again, as you look at Heiser and Deal, again, they're acting like guys that might want to try and get those cars back into the race, but you can't be certain. One of Pointer bumped with Arthur, he can use the record to pull the cars apart. And again, Heiser is still trying to put his car back together. He's looking down at the brake disc of that car that's been really ripped up pretty badly. In the meantime, the first pit stop is being made by Dwayne Lee. Lee has come off the racetrack gone. Front suspension gone. He even got into the roll cage of one of those top upright supports on the A-pillar. But as bad as Eddie Deal got into him, the roll cage maintained its integrity, and Heiser manages to walk away from that, but again, carrying shards and pieces of a broken race car and a broken series of hopes. Deal's car now also goes up on the hook, and he'll be taken into the pit area. Now, but he is going to be over Dwayne Lee. Now the drama is going to be with the number 9 at Leonard Basham. Basham had to make his pit stop under green and lost something like 2 laps to Mike St. John. So on the restart, when you see Basham mount his attack on the number 7 car, it will be to try and get those lanes. Number 7, St. John. Second place is Dwayne Lee as we come down to the restart, but St. John will have his hands full. It will not be easy. There's Leonard Basham to the inside of St. John, getting one of his laps back. It will be Basham all over the number 9, trying to get laps back and get back on the lead circuit. Finishing the 5th minute of the second hour of the race. This third hour of the race, we should say, we're getting down to the nitty-gritty of this contest. And as you see, Hughes and the car and Styles almost get together. Now we're starting to see a circumstance where we're starting to almost eliminate some of these guys who contend, I guess, the champagne. These cars run over and turn number 2 will actually get restarted. At the intersection, Basham comes to the front. Then Hartman to 116. Then the number 7 of Mike St. John. Basham is going to try to be on the charge to get through this race field as fast as possible and get back to the lead lap. St. John has the whole of the intersection towards the front of traffic again. But there is Dwayne Lee on the charge of the number 3. He has been a half lap back of Mike St. John on the green. He's got that down to about 1/2 straightaway as Brown cuts across St. John's bows. There's the number 5 of Bill Tenney Jr. Heavy smoke from number 5. Brings it into the infield. That may be it for him. At the intersection, Mike St. John moves around. Gaddis tries to go above the car and Brown. Now tries to take on the rack. In the meantime, in this short period of time, Harmon is across the racetrack. Bob Johnson spun in front of St. John through the intersection. And Basham is hit in the crossover by the car of Jenny Van Meter. Van Meter has a broken right foot suspension. Basham has bodywork damage but has not swung. And Basham continues to run despite taking the hit. That hit happened behind the left front of Basham's machine. He's going to try to stay on the racetrack. But Van Meter's number 35 is damaged. Braking and broken. Front suspension broken. And almost the crossover Basham. Mike is hit in the crossover by Hughes. And then hit by Brown. And at the intersection, we finally bring out the yellow. A 3-car chain reaction crash. Mike Hughes, the number 14, smashed into the left rear of Lackley's number 12, and then was tapped by Brown of the number 44. And Basham now goes around all of those guys. Let's see if Basham is going to make another pit stop. He runs over a piece of debris, but keeps on going. Lackley climbs out of the top hoop of his roll cage, looks at the ruined left rear corner of his car, says words that we would rather not use in a family publication. Under 53 minutes of this contest left to go. minute of the final hour of this race. 52 and a half minutes left to go in this contest. Mike St. John has the advantage. Dwayne Lee is closing in on him. Leonard Basham is trying to get laps back. So was Rance Harmon. Those four drivers send the field through on one side of that car as the Indy Towing Service machine is hooked up to it, as we'll tow that machine off as fast as we can and come back to green as we're still under yellow in the 9th minute of this race, and it looks like this is going to maybe cut down on the number of laps we thought we were going to be able to complete. We were looking at a 350 lap pace. I think we're just under that right now. Kenny Rackley is pulled off the racetrack cage. Now we hesitate for a moment with the number 03 car of Scott Ford. He'll come off the racetrack. That's one of the few, sir. We have 32 cars on the racetrack ready for the conclusion of this contest. Start, we'll watch to see if Dwayne Lee can move around that lap traffic and catch Mike St. John, and whether Leonard Basham and number 9 can get another lap back and put himself in a position for the victory as we start the 11th minute of the final hour of this 3-hour race. St. John has the advantage. Dwayne Lee has 2 more cars to pass. There's the thing that Dwayne would like to see. Harmon at number 116 is trying to race with St. John as they go to the intersection. Lee had to get the race. And there's Al Whitney in trouble with number 112. That car has now stalled the northbound run. He's low off the beaten path as there's the car of Mike Stiles pulling off the racetrack and out of the way. Again, the guys that are on the racetrack as Dale Canals is going to come onto the track with number 14 shortly. There's Mike St. John in the lead. Rance Harmon is trying to race with St. John. And then you've got number 22, Boyd Butcher, and your second place number 3 of Dwayne Lee. Also getting our attention is Harmon at number 9. He is about a half lap back of that group. I think he has at least one more lap to make up. Maybe 2 laps to make up as Whitney pulls off the track to the 11 before he gets back on the lead lap. And Paul's getting together on Harmon. However, the cars of Basham and Dwayne Lee in the intersection as there's number 34X on top college pulling off the track. Through this sequence of traffic, as Lee and Basham have almost collided a couple of times in the intersection, Mike St. John's pulled away from everybody. St. John didn't go through a crowded intersection. Now here comes Rance Harmon and Dwayne Lee along with Butcher at number 30 of Strode, and they are losing ground to Mike St. John. Now 2 cars have collided to the north end of the racetrack. Number 20 of Joe Lowe and the number 31 of Pointer have gotten together. That's Lowe's second or third collision today. Lowe's car is not moving, but Pointer has gotten restarted. At the intersection, watch out, Dwayne Lee, Jack Dandy, and Dale Canals. They keep on going, but Joe Lowe's number 20 has not moved. We now have 4 cars going into it as the yellow comes out. Number 94 Johnson, 90 to Young, number 24 Waller backing into the number 94 of Stiles, and then the number 779 of Gaddis, all running into each other in turn number 1. All of those cars will disengage, with the exception of Gaddis, the number 779, who appears to have stuffed it pretty good into the first turn wall. Another caution comes out, and that gives us another chance to go over the strategic circuit. Dwayne Lee's stop is going to put him into a major disadvantage. As they come down for the green flag at the restart of this one, St. John now finds himself pretty much alone up in front. Dwayne Lee's car has not reappeared. Could he be out of the race? There's no indication as to what has happened, and now Dwayne Lee is falling laps down. Our indication unofficially from supporters is that there's a 3-lap gap between St. John and Rance Harmon. Now St. John has completed 2 laps, which Dwayne Lee has not. At the intersection, watch out for the 03 car. And almost Jack Danny got into the car of Carpenter. There's Dwayne Lee coming back onto the racetrack with was started and Fenwick hit it more or less head on. Will stay pretty much in the green, but the 6th car and the 66 cars are up together as we come back to yellow. Now Wampler gets going again, taking that hit to the right side. He will pull off and make a stop. And now the number 116 of Harmon is out of confrontation. Apparently with the number 34 of Collins, and he spins, does Harmon, when he gets restarted. Carpenter getting that car and going again after his crash with Jim Wampler in the crossover. Wampler makes his stop and heads back toward his truck for service, and Carpenter is trying to get the number 66 car to go regardless. Also, there's a stop for the number 5X car, and Dwayne Lee makes another swing. Dwayne Lee having some laps now. Very fast off of the pit area and coming right back. 41 minutes left to go in this contest. Rundown. The leader will be Mike St. John, so Basham and Lee may be on the same lap now. 4th place is Bob Student, number 54. 5th place is the 116 of Harmon. 6th place is the number 8. 7th place is the number 4 of Dawsey. 8th place is number 84 of Garrigus. 9th place the 69 of Alfred, and 10th place the number 9 of Cecil Carr. Dwayne Lee comes back on the racetrack, trying to hold on the second spot in his battle. He ran through the lead car of Brennan Basham. Mike St. John, because of the restart sequence, finds himself in the middle of a big pack of cars. As they go 3, 4, and 5 abreast, there's Basham finding a tight gap in the intersection. Now 2 guys have stuffed each other again at the crossover. Rules on number 8 and number 12 of Dick Lackey. They get disengaged just as Lance Harmon sweeps off behind them. Dwayne Lee almost runs into goals in the intersection after repeating his northbound route. That may be a major difference. Dwayne Lee missed the crossover and had to go northbound. Now collides with the number 6 or the 76 car. So Dwayne Lee now finds himself in deeper trouble and now centered himself on the marker tire. Gets disengaged. Dwayne Lee just may have lost second place with that little spin. All of this, Mike St. John takes his time, tiptoeing through the crossover, trying to find some tiny gaps that will get it through. Mike St. John at 4 and 5 abreast racing here in the intersection as Jack Dandy goes in front with on a dozen cars. Mike St. John is definitely in the lead. I think we're starting to go from that for second spot as Danny Turner is hit by number 74 of John Dawsey. That flattens down Turner's left rear tire. So Mike St. John continues to run in that lead back. Armstrong almost collides with the cars of Charles Coles and Lance Harmon and somehow keeps on going. Now we see Eddie Van Meter being rather Skip Van Meter being added to it. You know, Skip Van Meter was 37 pulls it into this race. Now a collision between the cars of Basham and Boyd Butcher, and that was the forward to the Gaddis car, and then Butcher collides with the car of Dick Brackley. Butcher's machine with a damaged tie rod at least, and let's watch and see if we put on a yellow for Butcher's machine. No, he backs his car out of the way, and he'll try to pull that machine into the pit area. Butcher had been hoping for a finish in the top 10, and now Mike St. John almost tries to push this against the scramble in front of a storming pack of about a dozen cars. Mike St. John on the 4th turn as Butcher gets his machine off the track. There's a collision between the number 30 and the number 74 of John Dawsey, who sends Dawsey spinning, and there's Butcher having trouble getting number 22 off the track. Butcher will gradually try to get that machine off the track as the number 30 throws in the infield. And the number 94 Mike Stiles will slip up to the infield as well. Butcher's off the track. Mike St. John looks inside of Dwayne Lee's car as he goes to the intersection. Basham almost runs into the back of Dwayne Lee's car as those drivers run in tandem for turns number 3 and 4. Again, Mike St. John has himself established advantage over 2 cars as Skip Van Meter spins his machine into the infield of the south end of the racetrack. As the field heads northbound, pushes the field heads northbound, leaders 273rd lap. We've had a long sequence of yellows during this part of the race. Mike St. John trying to hold on to the lead. He has himself a big advantage over the rest of the pack. Dwayne Lee in 100 slow down as we get toward the end of the contest. Cars going from 2 and 3 abreast. Sometimes they get caught in the crossover, sometimes they keep on going. There's Pilot Barber, the number 23. The first of our alternates who did not qualify for races were about 70 volts and going through about 40 minutes. All had a chance to run in this race. Like St. John again trying to tiptoe through as we work the 24th minute of the last hour of this race. St. John tiptoeing through crossover traffic, trying to find his way through. Larry Berger is back on the track. He's Larry Berger's car is back on the track. And Kevin doing that, making a different driver now. A collision between Bob Stewart and the number 03 car. 03 Scott Barr collides with Bob Stewart. Stewart had a perfect race up to that point, but now he's collided with 2 cars in the last minute. Mike St. John is behind the group of drivers, about a dozen of them running 2 and 3 abreast. Coming out of turn number 2. All of them running at different speeds. All of them looking for room in the crossover. All watching out for Jack Dawson. Now there's Leonard Bash and number 9 coming from the empty crossover. And a group of guys running 4 and 5 abreast as they head southbound. Mike St. John is closing up on that pack as he comes across the line and finishes his 278th lap. Mike St. John has really slowed the pace in this car, as he has to in the intersection. There's no way he can maintain this sort of fast pace as we see the number 30 coming on through, and there's Stroke coming off the track. Mike St. John has managed to punch his way through a large amount of this traffic, has to watch out for Rusty Sigmund's number 80 as he's going to try to pull this car off the racetrack and into the pit area. And Sigmund has to watch out for Leonard Bash as he comes in behind Sigmund and goes to turn number 3. St. John moves past the number 6 of Bentley. There's Dwayne Lee trying to stay up with St. John's car, trying to catch up to Jack Dandy Smith. Pulls off the racetrack right in front of several drivers as Jack Dandy's trying to get his car to turn. Maybe there's some steering damage on Dandy's car. He's having getting it to make the corner. Dandy is almost stuck in the middle of the track, and that means the number 9 of Basham has to turn track the machine and score off the turn to keep him hitting. At the intersection, Jack Dandy watches out for the car and Nick Lackey. There's Homer watching out for Brown and Jack Dawson Jr. There's Mike St. John and the big back of cars right from being caught by Dwayne Lee. Mike St. John is actually signaling to guys. We know that St. John's window that is now will continue the race under the circumstances. Working under one escalation of crossover between the cars of Bob Buchholz and Holmgren, and that forced Basham to run into the car of Buchholz. Buchholz backs his car out of the way as best he can. The rest of the field watching out for Buchholz. He's almost hit by car. Now he tries to pull the racetrack and he almost does a corner around. And now there's Dale Krause who's getting caught by about a half dozen cars. Our scorers now give us a revised lineup that the car of 20 with that series of pit stops has now fallen farther and farther back and is now in 3rd spot. Leonard Basham is in position number 2 as you see the number 19 of Mike Blackwell bounce over here at the oval section of the racetrack. So he goes Mike St. John. Leonard Basham is now in the 2nd spot and 20 is running in 3rd. In the 27th minute of the last hour of this race. 20 has moved around Mike St. John, but that is only for the serial scoring. It is not for position. As they go through, there's a 4 car across the track. But goes Rossi's car into the air. The number 75 car came and fell in front of the 8 of Coles and the number 86 of Bill Clark. Rossi ran over both of those cars, ran over a bumper. The 4 car tossed into the air and smashing down to earth at the base of the wall over in turn number 1. So Coles keeps on going. The 75 car is stalled. Bill Clark is okay in the 86, and the car that has Jerry Gordon's name painted on it, the 75, is stalled here as well. Dawsey is out of his car, and he's okay. Dawsey gives the guy in the 75 car a piece of Eddie Jones set a track record, look to win. He has lost the fight, but we're still sure he'll be back. Jack, we know you're angry right now, but thanks for giving us a good show today. Finishing the 28th minute of the last hour 9 of Basham. 3rd place, the number 3 of Dwayne Lee. And 4th place, Bob Stewart in the number 54. Linkus is okay in the number 75. Bill Clark is out of the number 86 that's been damaged twice in this race. And Jack Dawsey Jr.'s number 4. That is, now it leaves like so many other cars, a battered piece of junk. A car that will miss on the hook. Through all of this, Mike St. John maintains the advantage to the number 7. Leonard Basham made his pit stop, but Dwayne Lee made a couple of stops, long stops by the standards of this racing, and now has fallen back to third spot behind Basham. And fourth place is Bob Stute to the number 54. Bob Stute had his rough moments in this race during a couple of green flag sequences ago when he collided with two cars, but I don't think that lost him too much ground. Bob Stute and Chuck Hall, who once co-drove a car here at the Indianapolis Speedrome, are the models of consistency. They make lap the pit area, who will come over to pick up Chris Lincoln's the number 75. And then you'll have the number 81 car coming off as an alternate. That's the 81 of drivers who are in contention. Mike St. John in the number 7, who has now got to concentrate on survival on above everything else. Leonard Basham in the number 9, who has to try to figure out how he can balance aggression against caution to try to get a lap back from St. John at 26 minutes and 45 seconds of racing left to go. As we go to the first lap of the 289th lap, first turn of the 289th lap, things are starting to get important. Mike St. John has the lead. Our scorers indicate that Leonard Basham, there's Dwayne Lee's trouble. Dwayne Lee has crashed coming out of turn number 4. On the restart, Dwayne Lee has stuffed the car, and that will drop him back one more position at least. Dwayne Lee is not getting the number 3 to move, and that will probably bring out a yellow here very shortly. But Leonard Basham is the driver that has to be on the move. Mike St. John hesitates in the intersection. Leonard Basham is not pulled up. We go through turns number 3 and 4. St. John has to be on the power because things are starting to get interesting as we come down the yellow. As we see Byron Wampler spin the number 23 car. Dwayne Lee has crashed the number 3 coming out of turn number 4. It does not appear to be a hard hit, but he did get the concrete. Now, as we bring the field back under yellow, here's 1/3 spot, 3 laps down. That will now elevate Bob Stute up to 3rd place, also 3 laps down. Dwayne Lee will fall back to 4th place, maybe farther back if the damage cannot be corrected. And 5th place is Rance Harmon in the number 116, 11 laps down. So again, the key point is you see Robbie Loving converse with Mike St. John there and touch him just a bit as they come out of the crossover area. If 10 laps cost you $500 or $600, that's certainly something these guys will fight for. Now we come back to green. Jack, there is Leonard Basham on the restart, getting his lap back to Mike St. John. Now things are going to get interesting. Basham now pulled away from St. John, but Mike makes it back up. Again, Mike St. John simply beats Leonard Basham directly in front of him for the last 23 minutes and 24 seconds of this race. Then that's pretty much it. But Basham manages to pull apart from Mike St. John and comes all the way around, and we've got ourselves a story. There's Mike Pointer's 31, strong in the intersection, trying to get it to restart, just now does. Again, we're watching the race between Basham and St. John. Mike leads as you see Danny Turner have his problem. Turner wanted to pull off the track, but the gate was closed. And now they open up the gate, and Turner will have a chance to drive off unless he stalled the car. This could be an important point. And Danny Turner's 87 is stalled because he hit the brakes because the gate was closed. That could force another caution. At the intersection, Basham almost runs into the car up front. Now, Turner and the car, now it's the operating one that's having trouble getting restarted. Lee once again gets going. As they come to the intersection, it's clear for St. John and for Basham. As you see Dale Krause pulling off in the number 14 as well. St. John and Basham have pulled a long way away from Jack Dandy, who actually got the jump on restart and was ahead of him for a while. Get Basham in the tail of the lead lap. Mike St. John in front. All he has to do is keep Basham in front of him. He might want to try from the tactic of using Basham as kind of a battering ram or a stalking horse for him, figuring that if Basham slows up, he will slow up. If Basham makes him pull up, move through traffic, he will make that same move in traffic. But Basham right now is hoping for some sort of caution or slow the field, allow him to go back to the tail end of the lead lap. All of this happens with 21 minutes and 47 seconds left in this contest. Basham bounces off the marker tire, almost runs the rank at it, pulls farther ahead of Mike St. John. St. John simply decides to let him go. Now it's Mayfield's number 64 that might be stalled in the intersection. Let's watch that machine as they come out of turn number 4. Mayfield gets the number 64 to go as they continue to run. Now Mike St. John closes up on Basham once again as they come through the crossover. Has to watch out for Jack Danny's number 4. The leader goes St. John to the inside of Basham, wants to lap down in turn number 1. Basham tries to get a run past the number 03 car going down the next stretch. Going to turn number 3 to the inside. There's the 98 of Leroy Young spinning in front of Basham, who goes through on the inside and maintains the tail of that position just out of Mike St. John. St. John to the outside of turn number 1, tries to follow the number 30 and stroke through, but Basham finds more room. St. John tries to make the high side pass around Basham. They're trying to overlap the number 24, Jim Walker. Walker slows up St. John by being there. Basham goes through on the outside, then 3 and 4, as we have fewer than 20 minutes left to go in this race. It's getting down to the nitty-gritty. The Indianapolis Speedrome. It is a battle for Leonard Basham, hoping for a caution to get Basham as they run the lap. Mike St. John, who's driving first place. Johnson spins the right forward to the intersection. Tries to get reached on and walking the southbound loop. Now the number 9 of Cecil Cars, but his car. Here the leaders coming up the Cecil Cars machine, and they go underneath them as they come to turn number 3. Cecil Car has flipped to number 9. Almost missing by Danny turn number 87. The car gets his machine going once again. Two slower cars between Basham and the line to the number 7 of St. John. Basham is still battling as hard as he can to move all the way around the racetrack, but it's obvious with this last sequence of competition that St. John is able to stay with Basham even through this extremely heavy traffic. 19 minutes of racing left to go in the Indianapolis Speedrome. The drama continues as well. There's Basham running all over the car. Forward turn, launching the machine into the air and once again going a lap down. Basham may have taken one chance too many as he collided with Carpenter's number 66, launching the car into the air and is now a full straightaway behind Mike St. John. Basham had his lap back. Now he is a lap down. Myron Walker spins through the intersection. Here comes the field, overwhelming Walker when he pulls out of the way as they continue to run. That incident with 19 minutes left to go did decide the outcome of the race. Basham signals to his crew. We see his arm come out, and Basham may be coming into the pits. We'll watch, but Basham continues to run as they go through turns number 3 and 4. Mike St. John stays there as well, knowing that his closest competitor is now no longer on the lead lap. Let's watch and see what Basham does. No, he's going to stay out. He may have simply been signaling to the crew that he was okay, he was going to stay out. Now big trouble. A big brake eater pull up on number 94, Johnny Johnson. Stall in the middle of an off-bound run. Johnson's number 94. Steam and water pour out of that car. First the field goes around on one side to another. All Rose gets into him. All over the place. They're trying to avoid Johnny Johnson's number 94 car, which has not moved since the radiator went south, and finally the yellow comes out. If that had happened maybe 5 minutes earlier, maybe 3 minutes earlier, would have been exactly what Leonard Basham wanted. A minute and 10 seconds left to go in. Roll off to one side. The number 77 of Jeff Ridge to check that machine, which had been smoking for most of the last 10 minutes or so. Cecil Carr will make a stop after his spin, also moving off after almost stalling a couple of times, the number 31 of Mike Pointer. And as Danny Turner waits for a chance to get back on, we're going to have them under caution for another couple of laps because you have to put some cement dust and absorbent material down on the water that gushed out of Johnny Johnson's number 94. You know how frustrating this has to be to Basham and his crew. They were exactly where they wanted to be. If the yellow had come out for an incident that happened earlier, then they would have been in a circumstance where they could have pulled around to the tail end of the group. They're still running in second, no doubt about that, but no longer on the lead lap as they had been earlier. And pieces of race cars that have showered on the racetrack. I know that all of you are glad that you came out here for the second start of this race. It looks like the entire crowd is back with us after last night's rain delay, and we're so glad that everybody came back here to see this show. The numbers continue to inexorably count down. As we watch the clock, it gets down to the very important numbers on the restart. Mark it at 15 minutes left. Mark it at 15 minutes contest. They're pulling the pace car out of the way, just barely out of the way, as Mike St. John storms over the through. Leonard Basham once again goes with an excursion to try to get a lap back, but he's running out of minutes. whoop, there's the number 22 of Butcher, who tried to go high, but almost ran into the rear of Jeff Rich's number 77. Butcher's going to have to get that car either into reverse or wait until he gets an opening to complete that turn. Rich is out of his machine. Everybody else is waiting for the pace vehicles. Mike St. John goes through the intersection with only a handful of minutes left to go. This excursion into the unknown started last night at 7:30. Here we are in the afternoon of Sunday, and it's now down to basic order to the staging area at the south end of the track. And Basham goes back onto the track as well. Obviously more than one lap down at least. 12 minutes of racing left at the Indianapolis Speedrome. One thing we want to emphasize, the race does not end on the timer, the race does not end on the clock, it ends on the checkered flag. When we bring the field down, we will note at the time at which we count to 3 hours. And then at that point we will watch for the flag stand, for the checkered flag that will be given to the leader, which will determine the end of this contest. So again, as we move into the closing minutes of this race, the race ends not on the timer, the race ends on the checkered flag. The race ends on the checkered flag. That pit stop made a major change. Bob Stute is now in second place, 3 laps down to Mike St. John. Again, we show Mike St. John in the lead. Bob Stute second, 3 laps down. Leonard Basham in position number 3, 4 laps down. And the fourth place driver would be the number 116 of Harmon, 12 laps down. And Cecil Carr has moved into 5th place, completing enough laps for 5th. Obviously, Dwayne Lee has fallen a significant distance back. We have talked about Bob Stute's consistency and professionalism here at the Indianapolis Speedrome in these figure-8 races, and it's paying off as he's running in second place. But that's not unusual to Bob Stute. He and Chuck Hall co-drove to second place in the Indianapolis Speedrome in a 3-hour figure-8 endurance contest not that long ago. I think back in let's double-check our figures. I think it was back in 1985 or so. 1987, Bob Stute finished in second place. Bob Stute was in third place in 1988, and he co-drove with Chuck Hall to second place back in 1983. So Bob Stute has been the most consistent driver at the Indianapolis Speedrome in the most recent history of these 3-hour figure-8 endurance contests, but so far he has not been able to win a contest. Mike St. John has the advantage, but we'll watch to find out how his luck goes. Again, with less than 10 minutes to go in this race, Bob Stute has 3 laps to make up on Mike St. John. We know how unpredictable things are at this track. 76 of Scott Martin. Then you had the number 3 car involved in that mess along with the number 44, and everybody else managed to get on through. There's a quick move to push the number 8 of Coles off the racetrack, and Brown gets restarted. The 03 car of Farr is over at the far end of the racetrack. We're going to pick up a piece of his machine and dump it over the side, and let's find out if we're going to scramble a wrecker out to get that machine. Apparently not. Just over 7 minutes left to go in this race. The winner's trophy is being prepared here at the start-finish line of the oval section of the racetrack. I think what we're going to do is to tell Farr that because of the short amount of time left to go in this contest, that we are simply going to go back to green and invite him to get out of the car and get over the wall. Mike St. John continues to lead as we head through turns number 3 and 4 and headed northbound now for his 329th lap. Cars are still racing each other as hard as they did when the 3-hour endurance contest started yesterday evening. St. John holds on to the advantage. Leonard Asher still in the middle of the pack trying to go on through and get up to the laps that he lost. Monster is also still out there, 3 laps down to number 54, but still smoking as Danny Gonzalez on turn number 4. Lewis come up with number 66 of Carpenter and realizes he has problems. Now slows to bring that car off the track. Mike St. John going for his second World Championship figure 8 victory here at the Indianapolis Speedrome. Going for the corner third honest victory. Holding on to nobody else can hold on. Then he holds on to the intersection. Getting a Byron Harper at number 23. Just under 6 minutes left to go in this long journey into excitement of the Indianapolis Speedrome. Mike St. John is among the chess players called in the game. One of the basketball fans will call the last 2 minutes. Leonard Asher continues to run in second spot. We're watching Bob Stewart coming northbound. I think he collided with another machine. Bob Stewart and a crash at the intersection with number 44 of Brown, who tears the wheel off of the number 76 of a car. He hits Scott Martin's machine. That'll bring out yet another caution. And the caution will come out with 5.5 minutes left to go. At the crossover, Brown of the number 44 crashed into the left rear of the number 76 of Scott Martin, bringing out yet another caution. Lots of yellows here in the closing minutes of this race, but we managed to run it in pretty much one group. And there's the number 26 car of Skip Van Meter, who has a radiator go up, and he will storm his machine into the pit area with the windshield pretty much covered with water. So we need a couple of wreckers to get these cars off the track. In the middle of all of that, Bob Stute collided with somebody. I did not see the collision with the number 54, but Bob Stute survived the collision as we come down to the close of this race. One Indy Towing Service wrecker will stage to the front of Brown's number 44. The other wrecker will stage to the back of the number 76 of Scott Martin. Martin has been involved in 2 or 3 collisions at the Indianapolis Speedrome, but I cannot think of a single driver on this racetrack who has not been involved in one sort or another of crash or confrontation or collision or spin or slide. It has been that sort of day at the Indianapolis Speedrome. And you watch the clock inexorably, unstoppably counts down to the close of this race. The clock tells the story. 4 minutes to go. 4 minutes to go in the 3-hour figure 8 endurance contest of the Indianapolis Speedrome. The 3 wreckers trying to do their jobs as quickly as possible. One hooking up to Scott Farr's number 3. A second has engaged the number 76 of Scott Martin, and the third one to Brown's number 44. As soon as we get those cars out of the lane, we'll just leave Farr's number 3 car on the racetrack and move the wrecker off the track. As fast as we can get those cars off the track and as quickly as we can put down a bit of cement dust on some of the oil and water that's spilled from those machines, we will bring the race back under to green. Again, there's some more water that we have to work on that came out of that car. We see Mike St. John just barely running off of that machine. We're trying to do as fast a job as we can on these cars because we do want to have a green flag finish. There is no guaranteed green rule in this 3-hour figure 8 endurance contest. of time with just over 2 minutes and 40 seconds left to go. We're trying to hook up to the brown number 44. And now we're going to red. Apparently we have a circumstance where we have a driver that is hurt, and we are going to red. We are putting out the red flag. We will stop the clock with 2 minutes and 18 seconds left in the 3-hour figure eight endurance contest. 2 minutes and 18 seconds left to go in this race. We bring out the red flag and stop the race because of the collision which involved the number 44 car, Brown's machine being brought to a stop, and we're checking the driver out. 2 minutes and 18 seconds left to go. It sounds like a situation in a football game where you've got one guy that has a big lead and another team that's trying to charge from behind to get back into it. There have been so many drivers today and yesterday that have been running for the lead here at the Indianapolis Speedrome. Jack Dawsey Jr., Leonard Basham, Bruce Tunney, Wayne Arnold, Dwayne Lee, Charlie Reed, George Sutton, Rich Fenwick. All of those drivers have had their chance to run in the lead. But it now comes down to Mike St. John here in the closing minutes of this race. With 2 minutes and 18 seconds left to go on our clock. For the ambulance crew to do its work here at the Indianapolis Speedrome to try and work on Brown. They're checking him inside of the car. From this angle and this distance, we cannot see what specific work they are doing on this driver. Of this wreck, but now slowly, painfully, Brown manages to, with some assistance, get out of the car. He is obviously feeling every bit of that impact as he gradually is eased out of the machine and is helped back onto the gurney which has been prepared for him. We'll now wheel him into the ambulance, give him the best available care, and for the rest of the guys on the racetrack, we'll get set for the start of this one. Now, what we'll probably have is an immediate start. I'm not sure if we're going to have a parade lap or not, but I think what will probably happen is that when we come back to green, we'll probably bring the cars to the north end of the racetrack, bring them southbound again, and turn them loose for the final 2 minutes and 18 seconds of this race. From a relatively cool night to a very hot and sunny afternoon. That is the story of the Indianapolis Speedrome this weekend in the 3-hour figure eight endurance contest. When they come out of the fourth turn, the light goes green and the leaders come across the start-finish line. We will resume our countdown timer. They will come through an intersection that still has some water on it, but again, that is not a really cornering critical part of the racetrack. 24 cars remain on the track. Out of the 28 that started, out of the over 40 cars that had a chance to join this field as alternates, 24 proud, battered survivors of the Indianapolis Speedrome 3-hour figure eight endurance contest are now led northbound. 2 former champions will lead them in that direction. Mike St. John in the number 7, holding up the finger already as number one, as if he's celebrating already. But still, 2 minutes and 18 seconds left to go. That is still a lot of time in this race. It's a lot of time for somebody like Bob Stute of St. John runs into some tough luck. There are about 3 or 4 cars and drivers who are staged over at the northwest corner of the Indianapolis Speedrome to come back onto the track. The pace vehicle holds the cars at a slow roll. We are ready to resume scoring. We are ready to resume the race out of turn number 4. Mike St. John brings them down, and we resume the countdown timer as we go into the close of this race. Northbound with just over 2 minutes left to go is Mike St. John. Going through turns number 3 and 4. Harris moment by Rance Harmon, but still some distance back. St. John through an intersection which is clear for him. As we come out of number 4, Carpenter almost gets caught by John Dulcie, but we keep on going. Now, less than 2 minutes left to go for figure 8 victory in the Indianapolis Speedrome for Mike St. John. All of his competitors have had their problems. St. John has had his problems. I'll tell you what, an incredible irony for Mike St. John's car as we finish this race, that one of his closest competitors, one of his more fierce rivals in this speedrome, actually made it possible for St. John to compete. 3 or 4 cars that have slowed to the intersection. Mike St. John takes his time going through them, tiptoes behind Danny Turner with 90 seconds left to go in this contest. Mike St. John looking for the clear road so he can come home and win this one. Bob stood in the back of the pack looking for yet another second place finish as the car continuing to bump and bang all around the track. And Dale Krause almost catches the earlier leader in number 3. As they come out of number 4, Market, 1 minute left to go. Mike St. John is driving as conservatively as he's ever driven at the Indianapolis Speedrome. Dwayne Lee comes up to challenge Mike St. John for a spot. St. John realizes it means nothing and lets him go on through. Going through turns number 3 and 4 with 20 seconds left to go of racing. St. John wide out of the corner. St. John might be having tire problems, but it doesn't count. He will continue to make laps. 32 seconds left to go in this contest. Leonard Basham goes through St. John, collides with number 6 of Rich Method, but again, it doesn't make any difference as the leader comes on through. Now, it's time for the countdown. The closeout of 3-hour figure 8 endurance contest at the Indianapolis Speedrome. Only seconds left to go in the race. We'll watch for the checkered flag at 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0. 3 hours have been completed. Now watch for the checkered flag. Out of turn number 4, waving to the crowd, winning the 3-hour figure 8 endurance contest at the Indianapolis Speedrome for the second time in his career is Mike St. John. Second place will go by our reckoning of Bob Stute, and third place the former champion Leonard Basham. It has been a long journey for all of the drivers here at the Indianapolis Speedrome. As we close down the contest, let's make sure that we honor everybody. Leonard Basham goes over and pays his tribute to Mike St. John. He realizes he had his chance, but the chances went away. The history of Mike St. John of the Indianapolis Speedrome 3-hour figure 8 endurance contest is the history of the maintaining of a family tradition. Last year, it was the confrontation between Mike St. John and Charlie Reed of the crossover, the big crash that took both of those drivers out. The year before, it was frustration for Mike St. John when he finished in 6th spot. But in 1987, for the first time, Mike St. John finished first in the race, and wouldn't you know it, in that year, Bob Stute was in 2nd as well. Now, ladies and gentlemen, holding the checkered flag high in triumph is Mike St. John, the winner of the race. And we must tell you of the circumstances which allowed Mike St. John to run here today and win this contest. When the red flag came out because of the rain last night, Mike St. John was in danger of dropping out of the race. The rear axle on that car had burned up. We're told by the crew that St. John could not have made another 5 laps with that rear axle burning up. So the red flag was a godsend to him. And who provided the rear axle, which which Mike St. John drove to the 3-hour figure eight endurance championship, it was his most bitter rival, Wayne Arnold, who provided the rear axle that Mike St. John drove to the victory here at the Indianapolis Speedrome. For the first time since the roar of the engine started 2 hours and 15 minutes ago, Mike St. John can hear the cheers of the crowd as the world champion. John Stiles Jr., it's another celebration, and they're already counting their $6,000 winnings.
The very excited crowd and crew. Mike St. John in the Southeastern Auto Parts, number 7. Get a good sip of Coca-Cola. A hard race, 2 days to win it in. 43 minutes last night. 2 hours and 17 minutes today. In the hot sun, Mike St. John had bad luck last year, finished 37th. Won it back in 87, was a co-winner with his brother Kenny a few years ago. Mike St. John, the 1990 14th Annual World Championship winner. Mike St. John.
Well, I'll tell you what, I'd like to thank all my fans and all my crew and my sponsors. And because we had a terrible year this year. Car didn't work at all. But whenever St. John or Arnold is hooked, we unbeatable. But I really like to thank Wayne Arnold and Bob Clark. I had a rear end going out last night, and he let me use his rear end. It's Dave Lewis's. Chicken Auto Parts, Brooklyn, Indiana, loaned it to me. And I thank those guys with all my heart, because if it wasn't for them, I couldn't have never made it, and I love them both. Wayne Arnold, it took a lot for him to get out of that race car. He's 11, 13 laps down, but Wayne Arnold's a winner. If he can't win, he don't want to race, and he felt he didn't have the chance to win it. And I got all the respect in the world for him, because he's one of the greatest drivers that I've ever raced against. And whenever he's on the racetrack, he does put the scare into me. That's the only driver.
Mike, how many hours of sleep did you get last night?
Well, I went home about 1 o'clock. These boys worked till about 4 or 5 o'clock. They tried to get me out of there before then, but I just had to make sure everything was right, and got all the parts and stuff like that. But my crews bust their butt all night, and look what it's did for us.
There's Mike St. John, the 1990 World Championship winner, Southeastern Auto Parts. You got a big crew behind you, Mike. You remember some names right offhand for your crew?
Yeah, Tim Harding Body Shop. He reared up this week. He sponsored me and Wayne. If it wasn't for him, he bought my tires and everything. He's one of my friends. He don't go around talking, my friend, then talk behind my back like some people do. My friend, Tommy St. John, Bobby Elliott, Frank Elliott, Stevie St. John, Rich. I got a bunch of boys. Morgan, Charles, Chuck. I got a bunch of them. Peanut. I can sit here and act like a fool all night, but I'm not going to.
What about next year?
Next year, these boys give me the best car I can run and the fastest. All I got to do is use my head, and I'll put her up front and bring the money home.
All right, Mike St. John, you got your trophy. I've got some gifts from Rose Express and from Bud Wolf Chevrolet. I've got an autographed hat from Dale Earnhardt and a T-shirt, plus roses from Rose Express. Again, Dale Earnhardt Chevrolet Lumina going to be at Bud Wolf Chevrolet September 12th and 13th. Next weekend is going to be the Final Fling. The Final Fling, our Team Figure 8. You got Team Figure 8 plus a regular stock and pro stock program come out next weekend, September 15th, next Saturday. We'll see you out here. I want to thank all the Michigan drivers that came down. They always come down here, have a lot of fun. Bob Stu, by my reckoning, may have finished second or third. We'll get the final counts. That is unofficial right now. We got Leonard Basham from Jeffersonville. Congratulations for Leonard with a top 5 finish. We'll have the official results within a while here. Everyone sit back if you want to check out the results. Stick around for a while. We'll have them ready. Again, next weekend, September 15th, next Saturday.
In third place, the number 9 of Leonard Basham. Fourth place, the number 116 of Rance Harmon. In fifth place, we have the number 3 of Dwayne Lee. Unofficially in sixth place, Ken Algren, who is the second alternate. Unofficially in seventh place, the number 6 of Rich Fenwick. Unofficially in eighth place, the number 9 of Cecil Carr, who is another one of the alternates. And in ninth place, the number 8 of Charles Coles. And in 10th place, Jack Dandy in the number 4. Unofficially 11th, the number 16 of Robbie Loving, and so on down the line.
Still first quarter?
Double checking our unofficial standings, there was a small change made to those unofficial standings as we were reading them to you. We'd have Mike St. John winning second place to the car of Bob Stute. Unofficially, we'd have Rance Harmon in third place ahead of Leonard Basham, and then Dwayne Lee in fifth. We will be going over the standings here as the time goes on to give you an indication of where all of the 60 or so drivers finished in this race. We'd like to remind all of our competitors of the Indianapolis Speedrome that the drivers that took part in this contest are eligible for next Saturday's final fling. That'll be the special race of the Indianapolis Speedrome, which features the challenging and unique team championship. Our top 5 finishers in the Indianapolis Speedrome season-long Pro Stock Championship will be captioning, I can't even speak, I'm so excited, will be captaining teams that will go for a team championship and also for a bonus that'll be involved there. So Dwayne Lee, the track champion, Mike St. John, Charlie Reed, Bruce Tunney, and Bill Tunney Jr. will be captaining teams, and wouldn't you know it, the Tunney family will be split. Kind of a civil war. Ladies and gentlemen, we mentioned his professionalism, we mentioned his ability to last, we mentioned his impressive performance. Here is the second place driver with his group walking through the infield. Let's give a hand to Bob Stute, the second place finisher. And John Stiles Jr., I guess he's going to come down to you and have a couple of words. I'm sure the folks from Michigan who are now taking a look at what happened there would like to have a chance to hear from their champion.
Bob, we're going to make the long trip down here with the rest of his competitors. We're still waiting for Bob Stute or any of the Michigan drivers that come into the championship, for this World Championship. They come close. Bob's been the closest. Jack Dandy's always close. There's always the hard chargers of Ray Gaddis, but right now, Bob Stute, we had Leonard Basham in the 9L. He took a pit stop, and that's when you took second place, and just time ran out.
Time always runs out on me. These guys are hard to beat. They got horsepower, they got good equipment, and it's hard to go in somebody's home track and beat them.
That's true. You had three Michigan drivers starting in the starting field. You had Bob, you love this racetrack. You don't come down here unless you didn't love it, right?
I love racing, period. I just wish I could pull one of these out someday.
Well, I'm looking sometime in the future. In fact, I was pulling this year for a Michigan driver. It's about time you guys had a long drought, 14 years of this race, and we have 2 Jeffersonville drivers and all the rest, Speedrome drivers. You guys love to come down here and party also, don't you?
Well, yeah, I guess we like to party.
I know you're tired. You finished about 300, almost 340 laps or so. What's that do on a guy's arms?
It wasn't bad. We got a pretty decent car. I could go another 100 if I had to.
Another 100. What's this compared to the figure 8 tracks you race on in Michigan?
Our weekly shows only run 15 laps, and our big races run 50. So we come down here, it's about a whole season at one time. I'd like to just thank the people that come with me, all the crew that helped, and my sponsor, Rick, Quality Clutches.
Second, but a great job holding it. Don't forget next weekend, Saturday. Those are going to be, it's open competition, but they do have to run on the Speedrome Series tires and the Speedrome rules. They do have to be the street legal tires that they run out here on the regular programs for that Saturday, September 22nd show. Again, next week in the final fling, the team figure 8, the top 5 drivers in pro stock points will pick their team for the figure 8 race. We still have sweatshirts on sale. I know it's sort of warm today. We ran out of t-shirts from what I understand, but we still do have some Speedrome souvenir sweatshirts. We also have a souvenir stand by the ticket gate as you walked in. Go down and see if you have your favorite driver's picture down there. I want to thank Rose Express for your rose needs. Dial 247-ROSE. Thank you, Ron Martin and Dan Brewer, for supplying the roses for Mike St. John. And also, Bud Wolf Chevrolet, Kent Kreml gave us a Dale Earnhardt autographed hat, Chevrolet hat, and a t-shirt to give to Mike St. John. September 12th, 13th, the Chevy Lumina will be at Bud Wolf Chevrolet if you want to go down and take a look at it. Information is in the pit board, in the Speedrome pit board. If you did not pick one up on your way out. They're in the pit office in the blue building. There still might be some down by the ticket gate.
As we continue our analysis of the finishing order here at the Indianapolis Speedrome, we can give you a better rundown. The margin of victory between first and second place by our scoring was 3 laps. Mike St. John completing 339 laps by my reckoning. Bob Student second, 3 laps down. Third place to Leonard Basham, also 3 laps down. Fourth place, the number 116 was Rance Harmon with 329 laps completed. And then with 308 laps completed was the 5th place, number 3 of Dwayne Lee. Then Ken Algren in 6th place, number 69. 7th place to the number 6 of Rich Fenwick with 303. 8th place would be the number 9 of Cecil Carr. 9th place, the number 16A of Robbie Loving. And 10th place, the number 4J of Jack Dandy. Going down through our standings, 11th place, the number 8 of Charles Coles. 12th place, 22 Boyd Butcher. 13th place, 76 Scott Martin. 14th place, the number, let's double check our number here. It's a little far away from us here on the wall. 14th place, the number 24 of Jim Wobbler. 15th place, number 86, Bill Clark. 16th place, number 87, Danny Turner. 17th place would be the number 50 car of Mike Champagne. In 18th spot, the number 77 of Jeff Rich. 19th place, the pole sitter, the number 4 of Jack Dawsey Jr. And 20th place would be Jerry Brown in the number 44 car. 21st place, the number 66 machine of Ken Carpenter. 22nd place, the number 17 of George Sutton. 23rd place, the number 84 of Donnie Garrigus. 24th place, the 779 of Ray Gaddis. 25th place, the number 20 of Joe Lowe. In 26th place, the number 111 of Al Grindy. 27th place, the number 5 of Bill Tunney Jr. 28th place, the number 71 of Bruce Tunney. 29th place, the number 30 of Guy Strode. And in 30th place, car number 78, Joe Jackson. 31st place to the number 16 of Fred Bear. 32nd place to the number 34 car of Larry Berger, and so on down the line. Those are the numbers that we're sure of as we go through our scoring at the Indianapolis Speedrome. We'll have a chance to post things downstairs fairly shortly, so stand by for that and stand by for the rest of our racing excitement. Again, next week, the final fling. The week after that one, the Indiana Figure 8 Open, and then on the 29th down at the Sportsdrome in Jeffersonville, and an exciting show. And we want to see you here for the last 2 weekends of the night at the Indianapolis Speedrome. Thanks, everybody, for staying with us through the rain.